Good. Okay, Kristen, you are a copywriter that focuses on coaches and consultants. And I'm sure we're going to have some coaches and consultants listening to this podcast, as well as those that need their soul rehabbed. But it's all a process because sometimes we're rehabbing souls and sometimes we're getting rehabbed. So it's all part of the process. So if you could just introduce what you do and just let me know how you got started.
Yeah, hello. Hi, everybody. My name is Kristen. And as we just heard, I am a copywriter, and it's been quite a journey to get there. But what I do right now is I help mainly women, online coaches and consultants, help them create copy that feels aligned with their vision and their values, and really kind of helps them find a way to convert their audience into working with them in a way that doesn't shame or blame them in the process. I want to help create conscious copy that doesn't trigger our clients in the process so that we can really truly empower them and take them to that next step in their journey.
Oh, that's awesome. Triggering copy. Yeah, I've hit the red X on a few sales pages in my time because it's so triggering. So, um how do you not trigger your audience but get them to convert? Do you focus what do you focus on?
Yeah, I mean that's a great question. So one of the suggestions I always give is when you're speaking about something in a negative place, right? You want to identify that pain point, is what we always hear. If you're talking about something that's negative, you want to try and distance that person from it. So we've been taught to use you marketing, right? And make it very personalized. But when you're talking about something negative, you want to try and use third person terms so that that person can feel a little bit distance about it and understand that they might identify as somebody who falls within that category, who's experiencing that challenge or that pain point, but it's not personal to them. It's something that is being experienced collectively by people in a similar situation as them, right? And then when you're talking about the transformation or the positive, right? Anything that you're talking about in a positive way, that's where we can use that second person, that you type narrative, that you type copy, because we want them to feel themselves in that desired outcome. We want them to feel themselves in that positive framework so that we're less likely to trigger some of those experiences they might have faced if we distance them from that negative piece or that negative pain point. So that's one of the easiest ways you could do, is just go back through and comb through your copy and see if anywhere that you're talking about something that is more negative or a challenge, see if you can kind of distance your reader or your I don't want to say target client. I don't like that phrase, but essentially your ideal client, if you can distance them from that pain point in that copy.
Okay, that's interesting. Does it matter if we're illustrating a pain point through our own examples and stories as the narrator essentially of the copy? Or should it always be like a third party, not me, not them, just someone else?
Yeah. If you're using storytelling and it's your experience and it's your, the challenges, and you really are kind of, like you said, sharing that narrative of how you went from point A to point B, then you're going to tell that story from your point of view. And so your audience might be able to identify with your story and really kind of share some of the experiences that you've had, but you don't really have to distance that because you're telling it from your perspective. You're saying, this is what I experienced, this is what my journey was, these are the things that happened for me to get from A to B. So you're not necessarily putting it on them. They will naturally identify with certain elements, especially if they evoke a particular emotion in them. But if you're storytelling and you're using a narrative, then no, you don't have to worry about that, making sure that they're distanced and using third person terms.
Okay, that's cool. So what about the your process? Does this still include like long form copy is still a thing with this way of creating copy?
Yeah, I mean, so there's always going to be that debate on short form copy versus long form copy. And I think there's going to be someone in your audience that is going to be at all ends of the spectrum. So first thing I would say is to look at your audience, that person that is your ideal client, that ideal person that you really want to work with or bring into your course or whatever your model is, and look at what are some of their personality traits. Are they a fast decision maker, or are they somebody that sits there and weighs the pros and cons and needs a little bit more detail, maybe takes a couple of days to make a decision because they really kind of have to work through things in their own head? Using that to kind of help you figure out how long the copy needs to be will be really good. So it differs depending on your audience. And it also differs depending on the price point of something. If you're asking somebody to spend $47 on something, you don't need to put as much copy there for them to get out their credit card and spend $47. If you're asking someone to spend $4,000 on something, they're going to need a little bit more information. They're going to want to know more details, and your copy is going to get a little bit longer. And so yeah, I use those kinds of things to try and determine how long copy should, quote unquote, should be. But it will vary. And so what I'd say is if you find yourself needing to write some longer copy because you've got a higher end price point on things, make sure that very early on in your copy, there's a place for the person to buy or to get on the call with you or whatever your call to action is. Some people close on sales calls, some people close by the click of a button. And so whatever it is, make sure that that's within, I would say, the term above the fold. I would say if it's not above the fold, then just below that, so that they don't have to scroll all the way to the bottom of that long sales page before they can make the decision to buy. Because if you have quick decision makers in your audience, you want them to be able to just kind of scroll, click that button and make the decision pretty quickly. But I like to put all those other details for those. I'm the kind of person that I read the full sales page, and I usually take a couple days to think about it and to really to process and work through things. And I know, you're very familiar with human design. There are people out there where that is just their process. It takes them a couple of days to make a decision, and having some information there can help them make sure that they're making a decision that feels completely in aligned with them going forward.
Yeah, I'm a quick decision maker, but sometimes depending upon the price tag and if you haven't presented the certain level of connection that I need, like I know I need what you have, but I don't know if I need it from you, then I definitely will take some time. So I understand that. That's cool. So is I'm trying not to get too technical into and we'll just edit certain little parts out. But so can you share a story that of a client maybe before and after results or epiphanies or something like that?
Yeah. So one of the reasons I got into doing what I like to call conscious copy is because I used to work as a person who worked in operations, a director of operations, which is more commonly known as an integrator in the online space. And essentially what they do is they run the back end of the company, right? The teams, the processes, the launches, all of the back end pieces. And I was working with people in that capacity and then doing some consulting work with people that I couldn't keep on retainer. And one of the things I ran into time and time again, particularly with women, was this feeling of they were really finding it challenging to write their sales pages and their emails and any kind of promotional copy because the framework that they had been given or what that they were used to didn't feel right to them, and something just fell off, and they were really struggling to figure out how to write this copy, how to create something that was going to convert, bring in clients, give them the launch that they were looking for. But when they fell off about it, they just couldn't write it. And this is one of the things I see over and over again with women in particular when they sit down to write their sales pages, is they're just like, I know what I want to say, I know what my offer is, I know how good it is for everybody, I know how transformational it is. I just can't get it out there onto the page because every time I try, it just doesn't feel right. And that's because we've followed a set of practices or a set of launch principles that are maybe built on some marketing strategies that are a little bit less than upstanding. Everyone's idea about what's ethical shifts and changes, but I would go so far as to say, for me, they feel like unethical marketing practices. And that's why for a lot of women, and especially the ones I worked with, they were really challenged to write those sales pages. And so what I did was I introduced them to this, what, like I said, what I call conscious copy or ethical copy, where you can connect with that person without purposely attempting to trigger them in a particular way. And even just that word trigger, right? Whenever we talk about marketing, they say, what are the social triggers? How are you going to trigger somebody into taking action to buy? And that very term itself doesn't sit well with me, because the idea of purposely trying to make somebody agitated or upset enough to take a decision just doesn't feel aligned with the values and the way I want to run my business. And many women were feeling the exact same way. And so one of the things that I would show them is that, just like we talked about, you can try and distance some of the negative things. You can use more narrative in your copy. You can really kind of start to hone in on focusing on telling the details about how you got to where you are. One of the other things that I find, particularly in sales copy, is we tend to kind of want to do that like rags to riches, that overnight success story. And a lot of people, especially depending on who your audience is, but if your audience is people in the business space, they know that story, they know the marketing strategies, they know all of that stuff, and they know it's not been overnight. But also, as women, we're taught a lot of times to be humble and to downplay our successes and our accomplishments when we should be shouting from the rooftops all of the things that we've done to get to where we are today, because many of us have experienced a variety of different things in our backgrounds that have put some roadblocks in our place, and we have triumphed and overcome those despite of anything that life has thrown at us. And instead of like kind of sweeping those under the rug and just talking about how I went from here to here, we should be celebrating those. We should be showing people what it is that we've encountered, what it is that we've overcome, because that's what's going to be building, if you want to use the word authority in the space, that's what's going to have people connect with you, because they're going to be like, oh my goodness, look at what has happened and where she is today. She's somebody I want to work with because she's been able to get to this place. She's been able to have this transformation, whatever it is that your program or coaching is selling, despite all of these other things. She wasn't there was no magic wand that fixed everything for her. And yes, there's going to be some work, but look at what's possible. And I think that's what's going to actually draw people into working with you, rather than those scarcity techniques and, all of the other strategies that people are taught when writing sales pages.
Right. So, do you employ the same mechanics as the whole funnel process? The whole funnel thing has been taking the world by storm, this little subculture that we're in. So, do you still employ some of those same tactics, or is everything different in the way that you flow?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. So the structure of like a funnel, and again, funnel can become as a narrow or as big a term
Yeah.
as you want. But let's just start with the idea of getting people to take an action to get on your email list, right? So you have an opt-in or a lead magnet or a tripwire, whatever phrase you want to put in there, and then it leads into a nurture sequence. I am a proponent of giving people stuff for free, right? I believe that you can find everything you want out there on the internet. So why not just kind of put a few things together for people and package it up nicely and give it to them for free, to demonstrate to them, to actually give them something that is useful that they can work with. So that's the first thing for me, is I just don't and I advocate for all my clients, not to just throw together a quick little tips checklist that you could find on any blog out there, but to actually put something valuable together that's going to be of a benefit to that person, even if they never work with you, that they know that they walked away, with an equal exchange for giving over their personal email address. They've gotten something of value just in there. And then off the back end, yes, absolutely. I'm a big advocate of nurturing them, and nurturing them in the sense of, again, letting them know who you really are. Let them know your vision. Many of us who get into business or who hold a particular career, right? Like whatever you're doing, whatever your vocation is, you're there for a reason. Yes, we all want to get paid, but we stick with that particular career, or we get into coaching for something bigger. There's a reason why we want to see that transformation in our clients. There's a reason why, and it's bigger than us. Sharing that with people while you're nurturing them, letting them know your bigger mission, letting them know why it is that you do what it is, that you're working with people on, and getting into what are your values and how do those things influence how you run your business day to day, right? Like you're being authentic, although that's another buzzword in the online space, but you're being yourself. You're showing them a little bit of a vulnerable side to you and showing them that you are human, you are unfiltered, you are, you're not out there just doing this all to make the money, but that you really actually care about the outcomes of the people that you're working with. And so whether you have a 5 email nurture sequence or a 10 email nurture sequence or however long it is, the goal really is to just kind of show them what it is that you're all about and how it is that you can kind of support them in whatever they opted in for, right? Like taking it to that next level or that next step by sending them a few more pieces of information and details before you make the ask. And then yes, always make the ask, because if they don't know that we're available to support them, then we are doing them a disservice. So you can still make the ask to say, I've given you all of this stuff. You have all of this to be able to do this piece. And if you want to go here, do that, whatever your next level for them is, then I invite you to join this program, hop on a call, apply to my mastermind, whatever your call to action is. So yes, that is a funnel, but it's leading with service rather than leading with sales. And so I'm a big proponent of people over profits, right? People over numbers. And just making sure that in anything that you're doing with business, that person is a person. They're not just an email address. They're not just a number of followers, that they're not just kind of a tick in a box. That is a real human being on the other side of that email or on the other side of that screen, and making sure that in everything that you do, you're taking care of that person as if they were sitting across from you in your office.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. I haven't heard it in words like that, but that's definitely a feeling that is very it's a value of mine. So it seems a bit overwhelming sometimes to have that level of mission, but then also want to reach the world, you know? And so being able to get your words together so that when you speak to them specifically via the nurture sequence and things like that, you're saying not so much the right things, but essentially we want to say the right things, you know? But saying the things that are really true to us, and the I think you said the word bro marketing. Um
Yeah.
I mean it works. It's just a different way of marketing. It works for different people. Um but for the helpers and the givers, I think the bro marketing definitely has to be addressed, and is a hindrance to people that are so heartfelt in the things that they bring to the market. So wow, just taking a second to take that in, like imagining, because I was running some numbers the other day and I was like, oh, okay, if I can build to this much, but when you think about that person sitting across from you, it's like not just a number anymore, you know? It's definitely not. And on some level, I think we all want to feel that we're taking care of the person that way, but it can, online business gets pretty overwhelming with the notifications, the dings, the
It
contacts,
does. Yeah.
it's a lot. It can be a lot. So do you have like a framework or unique process that you take people through?
In terms of figuring out, what their values are, or in terms of figuring out how to write their copy, or
Yeah, because it seems like the value discovery process is the biggest part of the copywriting process with you. So, everyone says you have to have a framework and name it and all that stuff. So, do you have that, or what's your
I
process
don't know
like?
that I have like a named framework. Um, I probably quote unquote should, but my whole thing is really I focus on dialing in their vision and their values, which they'll do with any business coach that they've ever worked with, or any foundational business course. So most people have an idea there, and I really try and get them to focus on that bigger mission, that bigger vision for what it is that they wanted to be known for in the world, right? We talk sometimes about creating a legacy for us, right? What is it that you really want people to know at the end of the day, at the end of your business career, at the end of your lifespan, whatever that is for you? What do you want to be known for, and why is that important? And really trying to infuse elements of that throughout your branding, throughout any kind of copy that you write. And it will just start to naturally flow. Once you dive in and you really start to focus on those as the core of your copy versus buzzwords and algorithms and anything else like that, you're going to start naturally energetically attracting the people that are the right people for you. Because again, like you said, you can sit back and you can think, okay, yeah, I want to make this much money and that means this much numbers and that kind of stuff. But when you shift that thought pattern to the impact you want to have, right, the money will come, right? Because having that impact means you are charging people for the work that you do in this world, and you should be, right? It is a gift that you are given. You don't need to all do this for free, But when you shift to looking at the impact that you're going to have and really start to see those as people, and you insert your values into, okay, this is the difference that I want to make. Your social media posts, your emails, your sales copy, every bit of copy that you write is going to come from that place. And you're automatically going to start transitioning phrases into things that are going to be identifiable by that person. They're going to resonate with them because now you're building your business with that as the core, that is your heart of your business versus the profits as the heart of your business. And naturally everything that flows from there will then have that tint to it, right? That heartfelt piece, right? That leading with service. And so if you start with that, that's the first thing I say is really kind of hone in and start with that kind of piece. The second part is to really identify your own voice. And this can be such a challenge because, well, at least speaking from my experience, when I first got into the online space, I was looking at my mentors and I followed a ton of different people that I wanted to kind of, when I grow up, I want to be just like them. And what you start to do is you start to try and imitate them. You start to try and think, okay, this is the way they're talking about things. This is the type of content they're putting out there. This is the offers that they have. And you get to the point where you are trying so much to imitate that successful person in your mind that you lose your own voice in the process. And the people that are going to work with you want to work with you because you're you. And so to do that, you need to identify your own voice. So part of that, like I said, comes from your values, comes from your vision, but it also comes from owning those quirks in your personality, right? Being filter free. Again, we don't need to have that perfect Instagram reel. We don't need to have perfectly posed brand photos all the time. It comes from letting loose, letting people see you as you are, using words and phrases that come naturally as the way you would speak to your best friend if they're sitting down for coffee in front of you, and start, really bringing elements of you, your uniqueness and your personality into your copy, into your branding, so that when people encounter you on a video, it's the same person they're encountering through an Instagram post. It's the same person they're encountering on your sales page copy, because you no longer have to think about slipping into a different persona. You are just being you. And that is going to attract the right people to work with you more than any other element of marketing out there.
Wow. It seems so simple. It seems so simple. Because that authenticity is it's a muscle. It's a muscle because I know for me, and this has come up in so many of my podcast sessions, of my core value, and I guess I need to expand that some more, but it's always to be authentic to who I am. So yes, that buzzword, but for me that means not code switching. And so there's some coaching that I've gone through, it's like create the persona, create, and it's like unless the persona is me at my highest, level of expression, I don't have an interest in creating a separate persona outside of me. But I am very guilty of looking at mentors and looking at what they're doing. But I've had to pull back. I've had to pull back in some areas, especially in that area, but then also dig deeper into really discovering who I really am and really accepting who I really am as a person, even before a coach. So it just seems like the other processes are just a little bit more mechanical, where it's like write this and then write the benefit and write this and then write the benefit. But it's like I don't know like how do I express what the benefit is in my words versus the benefit just being what people want, these types of benefits, just plug one in. So it just seems more cohesive and holistic. I think that's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
And it's
awesome.
important to talk to them about the benefit. I mean, really, that is what they're looking for, right? They're
Right.
coming to you looking for a solution. So they don't really care. I don't want to say they don't care, but like the number of phone calls you have, or the number of videos, or the number of downloads, or whatever, that's that doesn't matter as much to them as what is the benefit of that? Why do I need 12 videos? Why do I need this many things? What is that piece? What is it going to help me with? Can I do it in less phone calls or less videos? Sign me up, because we're all time deprived, right? So really looking at what is the benefit of each of those components to your coaching, to your program, to whatever it is that you're selling, and looking at, is that a benefit that your client actually wants? and really only focusing on how is this going to benefit them? How is this going to help them? How is this going to support them? How is this going to take them to that next level of whatever it is that they desire? And really focusing on that. There's no, you don't have to write it in that A plus B formula. As long as you have those things threaded throughout your copy, that's what people want to know. How can you help me? How am I going to get there? I'm stuck and I'm looking to you for support. I want to know, how is this going to go down? How is this going to
Right.
happen? Please, what can you do? Right. And that's what those statements are meant to do.
Awesome. Wow, sounds good. So if we were to work with you, what does that process look like? What are your offerings like?
Yeah. So I work with people who are strapped for time, as are many, many people out there. And so what I typically use is a VIP offering for people. So if you are wanting to get something out there into the world and you need copy, typically people are launching, but you might not be launching. That might not be your deal or your format. But you need a sales page and your deadline's approaching. It's coming up fast and you need it quickly. That's why I do VIP days, because it allows me to help more people in a faster time, a shorter timeline for them, so that they can get that copy turned around relatively quickly. So what we do is, we would get on a call if we decide to work together. I send them a pre-work questionnaire, which I tell them right up front takes about 45 minutes. So don't think you're going to be banging this thing off like a 10-minute quiz. Like, this is like a 45-minute thing. Sit down with your coffee. And then we hop on a call. And then I use the call to kind of help flush out any questions I have on that work, but also so I can hear their voice. And one of the things I ask for them in that pre-work is a link to other places I can hear them. Have you been on, do you have your own podcast? Have you, a YouTube channel? Where can I hear your voice and the way that you speak? But that purpose of that call is for me to hear how they answer questions, hear their tone, their vocabulary, the cadence that they naturally use, so that as the copywriter, I can slip into their voice. Right? Nobody wants copy written in my voice. I'm not going to resonate with their client. We want it to sit in their voice. And so then from there, what I do is then I take that away, rebook in whenever their VIP day is going to be, and I sit down and I write that whole day. And I sit down and I write their copy. I use all the information I've gathered from the recordings, from watching their YouTube channels, from all the different places I've researched them. And then I send the copy back to them, and they have 24 hours to kind of go through that copy. And then the next day after that, I will do an hour of revisions for them. I know a lot of people that do VIP days are like, once the day is done, it's done. I don't feel good about that. Again, it's not in alignment with my values. If I've missed the mark on something, if I haven't captured your essence or your tone in something, I want a chance to rectify that. I want to make sure that the copy that I'm giving you truly does exceed anything that you could have ever thought you were getting. So I do offer that round of revisions, but that means it does extend it by a day, but still they still get their copy within a couple of days, so that, if they're on a really tight timeline, they have that ready to go to pass off to their team or to build on their own sales page, whatever tech they're using.
Awesome. So is the copy usually, and this is more of a technical copy question, um, or process, because I'm actually thinking about something that I want to launch, and I don't even want the long form copy. It's not an expensive product. It's a very low ticket product, but I want the vibe to be right, because I it's really important, because that's going to be the main connection to me, outside of just general public content. So if we're needing maybe a video instead of a long form sales page, or do we need both, or do we decide that together, or is that just across the board we're always going to need that long form, because some people want to read and some people want to listen and all that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, so that would be something we would talk about in our, like, before we even decided to do the project together, right? So
Yeah.
if you want, most coaches call it a discovery call or whatever, we would have that conversation in a consult or a discovery call to really kind of look at what is the scope of the project, what is it you're looking to get out of it? Again, what is the price point? My goal, and again, in the way I run my business, is to make sure that you're going to at least triple the ROI off what you're getting from me. And I prefer that they 10x it, really. So if you're, only wanting to bring in 10 people and you're charging $100 for your product, you're not going to be hiring me, because I'm not going to be able to get you your money back, never mind double or triple that money, right? So really, that's the conversation that we have up front, is like, if this is a lower ticket product, then what are some of the things that you need to kind of have in there? And I would say, first of all, there's a misconception that writing shorter copy takes less time and less work. It actually takes the same amount of time and work to write a shorter page as it does to write a longer page. And here's why. When you're writing a longer page, you have more room to work with getting all of those key points in there, right? All of the things that you really want them to know. When you have a shorter page, you
Yeah.
still want to hit on those high impact points, but you have less room to do it in, and you don't want it to sound like a checklist, like a grocery checklist, right? You want it to still flow, you want it to still sound conversational, you want it to still be in your voice and your cadence. So you've got to write your copy shorter and make it just as impactful. So it takes the same amount of time to write short copy as long copy. So if you're DIYing your copy up there and you're thinking, oh, this is a really short page, I'll be able to bang this one off, no problem, I would block around the same amount of time out as it would take you to write long form copy, because you're going to have to revise and you're going to edit and you're going to condense and you're going to reword a few times. If it's a low ticket product, absolutely go with a video. Again, remember, it's your personality, right? We talked about this, identifying with your core values, your vision, and really putting your personality out there. We know the best way to do that is video. And so if you can really connect with your audience in video, and that's a platform that you excel at as well, then I would absolutely forego copy for a video every day of the week. Now, you're going to want your video to be outlined,
Right.
and whether or not you have a video script done by somebody, or whether or not you're really good at just kind of following an outline, whether you've worked with a speaking coach or whatever, you're going to need purpose and strategy behind your video. I'm not going to say like just go wing it.
Right.
But if you have a really on point video, they can outperform written copy on many instances for the right audience.
Right. That was a total selfish question because I needed that validation. And it seems like I could speak more fluently than writing, and so speaking is just so much more natural for me. So,
So take that and get it transcribed, and that's the start. That's your start of your sales page, right? Then you just tweak it.
yeah.
That's what I do. I often will tell people, if you're really getting stuck, to just talk it out, to do a video, to go for a walk and use your phone and just talk into your phone, and just get that audio transcribed, because now you're never starting from a blank page. You're never starting from the blank screen. You're going to cut and paste and tweak and shift things around, but now you've got the bulk of what was circulating in your head out there for you to be able to then work with, right?
Yeah. Awesome tips. Wow. Those are some great nuggets. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. You should see as I'm writing, like all the papers I have everywhere, because I'm a tactical person. So I'll print them out and I'll highlight things, and I'll actually cut the paper up and actually like physically move things around until I get it to the way that I want and start writing. So, don't be afraid to utilize all those tactics that you used when you were going through school, when you're sitting down to write your own sales page copy. Like whatever worked for you then will probably also work for you when you're writing your copy.
yeah. Well, I was one of those that waited till the night before, so I don't think that's going to work.
So, so you need to set yourself a deadline for your sales page. You need to have somebody on your team or somebody in your home or your biz bestie say to you, I want to see that sales page draft by this date, and you'll write it the night before, but you'll get it done.
So true. Awesome. Well, I'm definitely going to link. I know you have a what was the name of your lead magnet? The Sanity.
Yeah. It's sales page sanity saver. So I like alliteration, but it is a bit of a mouthful. And what it does is it helps you pull together all of those ideas, everything you need to think about before you sit down to write, so that as you're kind of going through and trying to write and convey that copy, you have everything kind of there organized for you, that you can then just go, right, this is what I want to start to talk about now. And then it organically just starts to flow, and it starts to feel, yeah, you can just get in the flow and get writing.
Okay, cool. I'm definitely going to check it out. I wasn't able to get it before this call, but I definitely want to check it out, being that I'm working on something myself. So, this is good. This is awesome. I had another book about spiritual selling, but I just couldn't get myself to read it. So, I guess I
Timing
couldn't
could be off. It
imagine.
might be this spring or this summer that you're meant to read that book. But you've got it there ready to go whenever that time is right.
Right. But the idea of ethical conscious copy definitely grabbed me. So, yeah, well, thanks for sharing all those great nuggets. Like I said, I'm gonna be linking to everything that you want to share below in the show notes. So, I appreciate your time. This was awesome. I think this will be helpful for all the coaches that happen to listen to this podcast.
Absolutely. I love sharing this kind of content because I think there are many, many women out there that kind of feel stuck in wanting to market, wanting to get things out there, but it just doesn't feel aligned with them. And so, any way I can help spread that word so that these women can really start to craft copy in a way that feels really good for them, I'm happy to share all of my knowledge.
Awesome. Well, great. Well, thank you so much again. And I look forward to staying in touch and checking out your offerings and see if that's something I can do. So, great.
Absolutely. Thank
All
you.
right. You're welcome. All right. We'll talk soon.
Okay. Bye.